Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem, now Shah Bashem, Kakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this lesson, The Slain Also Shall Be Cast Out. This is from Isaiah 34, verse 3. And I'll read the passage. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And I was looking for a topic, and I'm just going through different videos, and I went to the commentary. I normally go to the commentary just to see what they say. So what I did was I, clicked on this, and I'm gonna skip to the next verse in Isaiah 34, and then see what the commentary says. So the first one that I went to was Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges. It didn't give any commentary, but you see here two precepts. The first precept is Joel 2, verse 20, and the second precept is Amos 4, verse 10, which goes, hand in hand with Isaiah 34, verse 3, especially Joel 2, verse 20. Amos 4, verse 10 is talking about Israel, but it applies to Esau as well. And now in Matthew Henry's concise commentary, that actually mentions Idumea. Now, it doesn't say Idumea in the verse. It says their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Now, Edom is not mentioned there, right? So let me just go back. But the Matthew Henry concise commentary mentions Idumea. I'll go to the first verse. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. And that's talking about the Most High. When people come near to hear, and nations come near to hear, who are they hearing? They're hearing the voice of the Most High through who? The prophets of the Most High, which we believe that we're the prophets. So when I just read the first verse of Isaiah 34, it made me think of Isaiah 13, which says pretty much the same thing. Bear me for a minute. Bear me for a minute. Now, when you compare it to Isaiah 13, you have these so-called Edomite scholars. They'll do commentaries. And I like to go to these commentaries just to see what they say concerning mainly the prophecies. And what I said in the past was all these prophecies, it's the same prophecy, the same vision given to the different prophets, but the vision itself may be different. It may speak about a beast. It may speak about, when it's talking about the destruction, it speaks about the beast. But all these prophecies go together. Isaiah 13, Isaiah 14, Isaiah 34, Jeremiah 49, 50, 51, Revelation, Daniel, pretty much the whole book of Revelation. I said Daniel, Ezekiel 37, 38, All these prophecies, Obadiah, it's the same event, but given to the prophets in different scenarios, let's say. So it says here, the burden of Babylon, which we know the burden of Babylon is not talking about ancient Babylon. It says, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift up a banner upon the high mountain, which goes hand in hand with Isaiah 34:1, lift ye up a banner upon a high mountain. The banner is the scriptures, the truth. The high mountain represents government. When you go through the scriptures, anytime you see mountains, sometimes it's talking about actual mountains, but prophetically, a mountain represents a government. A hill represents a small government. A mountain represents a large government, an empire, or a kingdom. So, you know, the whole world has to hear this, because the words that you hear from my mouth or any of the Israelites that are out there, the former One Westers or the ones, you got to understand, the One West groups, there are other groups that came out of those splinter groups. And then there's splinter groups out of those groups. So that's the spirit of the Most High, because we said this before. We say that GMS has the truth, but guess what? These other camps are teaching the truth too. If they got the 12 tribe sign out there, now if they're teaching like FOPI that it's only black people, Most High ain't dealing with those. They're just a stumbling block. That's all FOPI is a stumbling block. Now you have these other camps that teach the majority of the truth. They just don't teach the 100% truth. They're missing one element to the truth. Well, more than one. One is the charagma. So it says, and I believe the ones of you that teach contrary to what we teach concerning the charagma, I believe you got a bag, because it's too much. The evidence is overwhelming. And you would have to be stupid to believe what your leaders tell you. You know, it says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountains, exalt the voice. So the voice is a Lord's voice, but it's coming through our mouths unto them. Shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the noble. The noble are who? The government leaders, the presidents, the vice presidents, the prime ministers. Because remember, this is a world thing. I have commanded my sanctified ones, which means sanctified to make clean. The Most High made us clean. Pursuant to Isaiah, the 6th chapter. I have also called my mighty ones the angels. Cherubim translates into mighty ones, or the mighty. For my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Them that are among them, that's in the spiritual realm, where the Lord is, where he sits on his throne. Heaven is his throne and earth is his footstool. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, the governments, like as a great noise, a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdom of nations gathered together, which is Armageddon. The Lord Yahweh of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. They come from a far country, because where they're going to meet? They're going to meet in the Great Levant, the Fertile Crescent. You know, you go from Ur the Chaldees to Haran, down into past Jerusalem, into Egypt, down in past Canaan. That's called, scholars call that the Fertile Crescent. If you look it up, matter of fact, let me do this. So that's where the people are going to meet. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, meaning, excuse me, the other side of the earth, even Yahweh and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. What land? Israel, which is not the land that they're going to gather in, is not going to be the land that they're going to be, that they're going to, that land's not going to be destroyed, meaning that area of what I call the Fertile Crescent, but Babylon will be destroyed. So you gotta constantly watch the news, especially these international news agencies, to see what's going to happen, what's going to happen in the Levant that's going to cause these nations to all, converge on that region of the earth. Our eyes are on the situation with Russia and Ukraine, and I wanted to pull out a couple of words. I want to go into the word doomsday plane. I want to deal with the word doomsday plane. I want to deal with the word or the term or the phrase. But I said doomsday plane. What is that? The atomic clock, I believe it's called. Doomsday clock. I want to deal with continuity of government. When I mention these words, the doomsday clock, the doomsday plane, continuity of government is, I think of Amos 9, the second verse. And we're going to go into it. And before all hell breaks loose, the people of the earth are going to catch hell through famines, food shortages, which is a famine. Now they're talking about this summer, there's going to be blackouts, on and off blackouts throughout Babylon, because they're switching everything over to a new system. The solar panels and electric cars. They're going to phase out these, the cars that you drive every day, these gas-powered cars, internal combustion cars. They're gonna phase it out, and everybody's gonna have electrical cars and solar panels and so forth. And they're planning on, killing off a lot of people. So let me, what else? What was I gonna say? I'm all over the place. To come back to me. Oh, it just came back to me. Because I'm talking and I'm thinking of things. Things are going through my mind. Let's go to let's deal with let's go with hyperinflation. Let's deal with some words. Okay, hyperinflation is nothing but inflation, and you have the prefix hyper, monetary inflation occurring at a very high rate. Okay, it says here. Now I pulled up at this gas station, which the area that I was in, you have within like a mile and a half, 2 mile radius, you have a bunch of stations, and that was the cheapest one. So I go to that one. Give me a second. And I pulled up, it said, well, what did it say? It said 429, which is high, but then the other stations might have been 452 or 455. When I pulled up, as soon as I pulled up, they had switched it. As soon as if I came 5 minutes Before that, I would have got my gas for $4.29. It jumped up to $4.35. That's called hyperinflation. That's what happened during the Weimar Republic before Hitler came into power. If you would go to a restaurant to eat a dinner, there was no prices on the menu, because you would start eating your dinner, and the price they would say, well, the price is let's say it's $1. This, now it might have took you half an hour to eat that dinner, and by the time you finish eating that dinner, somebody else will come in. The price might be $40 or $5. And that's what happened during the Weimar Republic. See, and like I said this before, and I'm gonna continue to say it, I'm gonna keep saying it. The American people and the majority of the world, they don't understand how the money system works. They don't understand how governments work. They just go about their business. They have children, they work at a job, they hope they retire. And retiring, you forget about retiring, because the money that you're gonna get is not gonna be able to sustain you and your family. But because you don't understand how the money system works, you're gonna get caught out there. And I can say that's got to be like 95% of the population of the United States, not talking about all of the other countries. This bird flu is part of the food shortages. And people watching the news, and they go to their favorite game show, not realizing what's coming down the pipe. Have no idea, clueless. It says in economics, and really the word economics just means managing the house. That's all it means. When you break the word down, it means managing the house. When you have a house and you have a family, you have to go shopping, right? You have to make sure, okay, you got babies, you got to make sure you get whatever formula, milk, whatever baby food. And then you have the husband, he comes home, you got to make sure you can have steaks and different food for each day that he comes home to eat dinner or whatever. And then when you're running low on something, you're running low on eggs, and okay, I got to get eggs, I got to get milk, I got to get potatoes, I got to get onions, I got to get more spices. And you make your list, you put your list together, and then you go shopping, right? And then you got to, there's dust on the floor, you got to sweep up the dust. You got to wipe the dust off and stuff. That's managing the house, and the wife normally manages the house. If you don't manage the house it becomes a mess. There's no food in the refrigerator. You have dust and dirt on the floor. Or you might not have soap. Or a lot of times you realize you don't have no toilet paper. So that's part of managing the house. So this is talking about managing the big house, which is government. So the government represents the managers, that's all, the trustees. Anyway, it says, so see, when we go into these scriptures, we filter everything that we see around us through the scriptures. We don't just teach the scriptures. Okay, let's go into the scriptures. Let's read this. Let's read that. We see things now. You that are in GMS, I'm not talking about the other camps, but I'm saying you that are in the GMS. I'm talking about you veterans, you men that been in this thing for going on 15 years. And wow, 15 years. All of y'all that been in this thing for 15 years that are diligent, we don't got to get on the phone and look, brother, you got to, no, the Spirit's on you. The Spirit's on you, just like the Spirit is on me, just like the Spirit is on the apostles, the bishops. The spirit is, hey, look, we don't hardly communicate with the bishops. You know what happens? If something comes up, I'll get a call from Bishop Menatizak about a situation, normally in one of the other camps. This happened to that brother. This brother needs this. He called me about this. This brother's, although they'll always ask particular camp, there's two brothers that have been staying out there. We're listening to these guys diligently for 2 years. Can they come in the camp? I said, yeah, if they see the brother, that's a management, man, Anyway, let me get back into this, running my mouth too much. But you have to filter, you grow in, your wisdom grows, man. Your wisdom grows. You read the scriptures about a woman. When you deal with a woman, you already know, you categorize her. You meet in the club, you're gonna run into problems. You meet her in the church, she's from the church, you're gonna have problems. And so you know that. And women, for the most part, do things based upon emotion. They get emotional. It says, like a woman might ask you, do I look fat in this dress? And you say, yeah, she's gonna lose it on you. She ain't gonna cook for you, she ain't gonna give you none. Because she asked you a question and you gave her an honest answer and she got emotional about it. It says in economics, hyperinflation is very high and typically accelerated inflation. So what is inflation? Inflation is when prices go up. And they don't tell you why. You have these financial experts, they're talking about inflation and hyperinflation, and they'll use these words, these, how can I say, economic words, I don't know. Like they're explaining it. Now, either they don't know or they know and they're playing stupid. Hyperinflation is simply when the government, the management, right, they create dollars out of thin air to buy bonds, to keep the country up, to help Wall Street with a stimulus package. What does it mean? We're gonna give you a stimulus package, meaning they're gonna make money out of thin air. They're gonna take the one on your bank computer, central bank, and they're gonna add, instead of 3 zeros, they're gonna add 5 zeros. Or they're gonna actually print out in the form of checks. They write you a check, you go to the bank, the money is digital, you change some of the money into physical money, which is paper money. So when you add these new dollars to the system, and governments pay bills that way, because in the long run, you're gonna have to pay for it in higher prices. Hey, this guy, Biden, said he's not gonna raise taxes for anybody that's making, I believe it was 400,000. So you might be saying, oh, I make 50,000, so he ain't gonna mess with me. So he ain't gonna raise the taxes. He kept his promise. Well, if you understood how money worked, you would understand that your taxes have been raised in higher prices. So you might say, well, how is that? Because the management put dollars out of nowhere into the system. So ultimately it's going to weaken the dollar. So let me keep reading. So that's inflation. And what's hyperinflation? When it runs amok, when it goes out of control. When you go to buy gas at $4, the next day is $4.05. The next day is $4.15. The next day is $4.20. Later that evening, it's $4.30. So it says in economics, hyperinflation is very high and typically accelerating inflation. Right, and it's nothing but inflation, but moving a lot quicker. Dollars, the printing press, they put it on high. It quickly erodes the real value of the local currency. So you can buy things, but guess what? It's going to cost you more to buy those things. As the prices of all goods increase, now you notice that as the prices of all goods increase, the gas went up, steak went up, potatoes went up, cookies went up. And then what's going to happen? Your rent goes up. Everything goes up. There's the saying, a high tide lifts all boats, right? So everything goes up equally. But then you work at a job, the boss, the owner of the job is he's supposed to say everything went up across the board 40%. So I'm gonna give everybody a 40% raise. You're not gonna get that. You gotta fight for that raise. You gotta quit that job. They're talking about there's plenty of jobs out there, but nobody wants to work. Why? Because they ain't getting paid right. Look, if you put an ad up saying make $100 an hour at this car service, you ain't gonna, man, that you're gonna have to get on that long line. $100 an hour. Hell, you work 10 hours, you made $1,000 in 10 hours. So that's why people, as an economic news says, oh, nobody wants to work yet because you ain't paying them right. It says this causes people to minimize their holdings in that currency as they usually switch to more stable foreign currencies such as the US dollar. But guess what? The US dollar is slightly suffering hyperinflation. Like Zimbabwe. Do some studies on Zimbabwe, and that recently happened. Do some studies on Venezuela. And they destroyed the economy of Venezuela when they lowered the gas prices. They were cutting out the competition. So now the prices are back up. Oh, right here. I'm sorry. It said the most recent example of hyperinflation. Well, they should have, yeah. That and Venezuela. Zimbabwe's currency woes hit a peak in November 2008, reaching a monthly inflation rate of approximately 75 billion%. Ooh, that means that dollar ain't worth shit, according to the Cato Institute. Now, what people openly accepted in Zimbabwe when they were experiencing hyperinflation, the dollar that they gladly accepted was what? The US dollar, which is the Federal Reserve note. But now the Federal Reserve note is experiencing the same thing. So let me come back. And this is what causes wars, by the way. You know, you go to war because another country has resources that you want. And what you do is, if the prime minister knows that, they'll say, okay, look, we're gonna take care of you, but we're gonna take your country over, but you'll be a puppet leader. And he says no, they'll get rid of you, they'll vote you out or kill you, and then they'll put a puppet leader in there that claims he's for the people, and really he's for that other government that wants to take over the country because of the resources. Now, part of the reason why that whole thing with Russia and Ukraine, which the American news is not telling you the whole story, not telling you both sides of the story. They're not telling you that was a war going back to 2014. So that's an 8-year war. There ain't no war. That's not a war that just happened 2 months ago. That war has been going on for 8 years. And they're not going to tell you. That's why the YouTube, they cut RT, because you're going to hear a different side of the news. So it's complicated, but wars are started because, well, that's what the empire is all about. The ancient Roman Empire, what they did was they took other nations down because of their war force, so they can take the resources of that, so they can tax the people in the form of a tribute. They had a census. Joseph's biological father had to go to the census, right? To find out how many people are from Bethlehem, how many people from this region, from Jerusalem, so forth, so they can tax them. So you got a census in this society, which proves that this another proof that this is Rome all over again, the census. And they're not following the laws of the Most High, because what brings everything back to normal? You have a year of release, which is every 7 years, and then you have 7-year releases, and then at the end of the 7 releases, which are 7 times 7 is 49, 49 going into 50, is a year to Jubilee. So every 7 years, whatever debt you owed, it was forgiven. You started off with a carte blanche, a white slate. And then at the end of 7 sevens, there was a year Jubilee. So, and you knew, okay, it would be, okay, this is the first year, second year, third year, you're in debt, right? If you don't pay the debt, 7 year comes, boom, your debt is cleared, right? According to the laws of the Most High. That's why this man don't deal with the laws of the Most High. They'll say they're a Bible believing society, but they don't believe in the laws of the Most High. If they applied the laws of the Most High, everything would be back to normal. You wouldn't have recessions, you wouldn't have depressions, you wouldn't have hyperinflation, because all debts would be forgiven. And see, guys like Vocab Malone, well, the Lord is done away with. Well, then if the law is done away with, let's say you go to a town where there's no laws. You know what that is? That's that movie, damn, what's the name of the damn movie? The Purge. The Purge, once a year for 24 hours, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can kill, steal, murder. So what did the government do? They said, okay, we're gonna suspend the laws for 24 hours. So you don't like your boss, you can kill it. You can kill that motherfucker. So in a world where there's no laws, that's complete chaos. And then Vocab and these other Christians, they'll say, and I'll get back into it, get back into the scriptures, forgive me. I'm in a bit of a rant. But I'm explaining shit to you. Anyway, let's go back. Okay, let's go back. Bear with me for a minute. So I looked up, so now you should understand what, oh, let me look at this, I'm sorry. Hyperinflation currencies, Venezuela, Bolivia, Zimbabwe, and dollar. Hungarian, well, yeah, Bolivia is the dollar that the Venezuelans use. German, before Hitler, paper mark. Hungarian, pango. And hyperinflation happens for the same reason. The same reason. It's not different. All these countries here did the same thing, and the U.S. they should just add that on the list. Then this paper dollar, the fiat money turns into what? Zero. So then you have a new money system. That's why they introducing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And then you got, in order for you to buy things, you got to get the you know what in your you know what. Okay, so let me go to Doomsday plane. Let's deal with doomsday. Let's deal with doomsday clock. Doomsday clock. Radar breaking Ukraine coverage. That might be interested. Let me put this in my face, my favs. Okay, this is the official, the bulletin.org, doomsday clock, current time. It says, now at one point it would be 10 minutes away. At one point it was 5 minutes where people get nervous. In certain parts of the year, you got to go to the history of the doomsday clock. It said at doomsday, at doom's doorstep, well, that's a topic right there for you brothers out there. At doom's doorstep, it is 100 seconds to midnight. What does that mean? That's a minute and a half, a little bit more than a minute and a half. That's how close it is, right here. That's how close it is. Based upon the war in Ukraine, based upon inflation, they set the doomsday clock not even 2 minutes away from midnight. Midnight represents what? It represents the nuclear destruction. It represents the end of this system. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So how is Esau going to come to an end? By Isaiah 13, by Isaiah 34, by Revelation 18. It says 2022 Doomsday Clock Statement, Science and Security Board, Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. It is 100 seconds to midnight, and midnight represents the destruction. Okay, it says, let me read this. Editor's note, founded in 1945 at the closing of World War II by Albert Einstein and the University of Chicago scientists who helped develop the first atomic weapons. And that's why they call it the atomic clock. In the Manhattan Project, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists created the Doomsday Clock 2 years later, so that was in 1947, using the imagery of apocalypse, in parentheses, midnight. So midnight is the what? The fulfillment of the apocalypse. And the contemporary idiom of nuclear explosion, countdown to zero. Zero is Esau's end, to convey threats to humanity and the planet. It should be about 60 seconds. The doomsday clock is set every year by the bulletin scientists, and sometimes they set it back. And security board, and consultation with its board of sponsors, which include 11 Nobel laureates. The clock has become a universally recognized, that means everybody on the planet Earth pretty much recognizes it, indicator of the world's vulnerability to the catastrophe from nuclear weapons, climate change, and disruptive technologies. I spoke about, they're talking about there's going to be blackouts coming this summer throughout the whole country. And so you got to get physically ready. And now the question is, do we put food to the side? Yeah, if you can afford to put an extra food to the side. And if there's a snowstorm, what do everybody do? They go buy water, they go buy provisions, because the snowstorm might be 3 days, but you might not be able to get out for like a week. So if your cupboard is low and your fridge is low, get extra food. But ultimately we're trusting in the Most High anyway, you know? But you're not committing a sin if you get extra food. You know, that's up to you. But ultimately, you're going to trust in the Most High. What does it say in Isaiah 65? My servants shall eat. So, Second Ezra 15 and Second Ezra, the 16th chapter, are definitely coming to pass. And it's going to come to pass based upon design. And destructive technologies in other domains in March of 2022, which was 2 months ago, the Science and Security Board released a new statement in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So guess what? You go back 6 months, I guarantee you the time clock wasn't 100 seconds to midnight. I guarantee you that. See, these Christians are not going into this because none of these churches, especially the black church, is the biggest joke on the planet Earth. Anytime you make a movie about the black church, it's always a comedy because the black church is the joke. You know what I mean by the black church. You'll never hear them talking about the end of the world. Hey, hell, Vocab Malone doesn't speak about the end of the world. All he's concerned about is Israelites. It says this is addressed to leaders and citizens of the world. At doom's doorstep. I like that. At doom's doorstep. It is 100 seconds, meaning a minute, not even 2 minutes to midnight. Date, January 20, 2022. So now let's go to, since we're dealing with the term doomsday, let's deal with doomsday plane. Doomsday plane. Let me do this. You know what? Let me bring this back. Let me go to images. Putin readying his doomsday plane, while Russia's doomsday plane has the West worried. And the US has a doomsday plane as well. And that's for the government, continuity of government. New proof doomsday plane. Let me see this and bring this up. Boeing 4E, E4 Advanced Airborne Command. Crew 112. No digital touch screen in the cockpit. No. Out by electromagnetic attack. So they got to go back to analog, not digital. And you have a thing called an EMP. What is it? Electromagnetic pulse, where they have a certain device that can knock out the electric system. What movie did they show that? In the movie Tom Cruise, War of the Worlds. He was at the gas station and he took that car. Everything went out. That's the ships that came down. When you see the ships, inside joke. When the ships were getting ready to show themselves, they use a device called a EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look that up. So the technology is here, man. The end of the world wasn't gonna come in the 1800s. The technology wasn't there. They didn't have, you know, the missiles. Okay, let me go to all. Okay, Doomsday Plane is an unofficial denomination of the class of aircrafts which is used as an airborne command post in the event of nuclear war, Armageddon, or apocalyptic. That's what Doomsday Clock, when you read the information on that, disaster of other large-scale conflict that threatens key military and government infrastructure. And that, another word for that is a continuity of government, to keep the government alive, that the people just die off. That's what their plan is. It says that's why we're going to be beamed up, because the missiles are coming. So salvation is talking about what? It's talking about being beamed up. It said take flight with the Air Force Doomsday Plane, the E-4B Night Watch. I'm just reading some of these news. The Independent, Putin's Doomsday Plane, and like I said, Putin has a Doomsday Plane, Biden has a Doomsday Plane for continued continuity of government. Putin's Doomsday Plane fails to make planned appearance at Victory Day, which happened yesterday, celebrating the victory of Germany. And during that time, World War II, guess what? The United States and Russia were allies. And that didn't mean that they were part of the beast. The feet of it as a bear in Revelation 13, starting from the first verse, first couple of verses, it's talking about Russia, because Russia is going to be bring this man down, bring his society down. CNN, why this Russian plane could signify a warning to the West. What is this? WION, however you say it, W-I-O-N. Russia's stimulated nuclear missile strikes and what is that, 1180 Doomsday Plane. What is the U.S. Doomsday Plane? Let's look at that. Boeing E-4B Advanced Airborne Command Post. What is a Doomsday Plane? To give its technical name, the aircraft is actually a Boeing E-4B Advanced Airborne Command Post, which is the acronym AACP. Though it's sometimes also referred to as the Flying Pentagon. And the Pentagon is the war part of the US government, all right? But they're not gonna get away, because they're gonna have to meet the Lord in the sky. It ain't gonna be nice. Okay, so now let me go here. What did I say I was gonna go? Doomsday Plane, I covered. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me grab another. All right, let me do it this way. So what precept that comes to mind is Amos 9. Amos 9. So everything's in place. The technology is there. The technology is there already. Now, when you read this, it's talking about the punishment that Jake is going to receive, but now it applies to Esau. This applies to Esau. Deuteronomy 30, verse 7. Amos 9, verse 2. Though they dig, I'll read from the middle. I will slay the last of them with the sword. Did that to Jake, but he's going to do that to Esau. He that fleeth of them, that's your doomsday plane. He that fleeth from them shall not flee away. And he that, because they don't understand that the ships are going to be coming down in outer space, so they're going to be on top of the doomsday plane. It says, fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. So when Esau goes down, he's going to go down hard. They're going to get hit so hard, they're not going to be able to get back up. Malachi 1, they shall build. They're not going to build this time. And the Edomites of the left will be scattered throughout the rest of the planet, mainly in parts of Europe. And we're just going to go around, we're going to gather them up, shackle them up. They're going to try to fight us. They're going to lose that battle miserably. And then we're going to give them work assignments. It says, though they dig into hell, which the word hell is the earth. So Esau is going to get so afraid of the Most High that he's going to dig into hell so he can burn in hell? No. Hell represents the lower parts of the earth. The pit, they're going to dig a pit. Now it says in Isaiah 24, they're going to be taken out of that pit and they're going to be given work assignments. This is all real, man. Slavery has never gone out of fashion. Ever. It says Amos 9, verse 2, though they dig into hell, then shall my hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven with the doomsday plane, thence will I, and you had the space flights. They're going to try to go up into space. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. So that doomsday plane is coming down. Biden's doomsday plane and Putin's doomsday plane, and they're going right into captivity. Because the super rich, the elite, they're going to have a getaway plan, but guess what? They're going to be allowed to go right into captivity. And a lot of them are old too. It says, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, meaning they're going to be in mountaintop retreats, I will search and take them out thence, and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, these underwater cities, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. That's Leviathan. And though they go into captivity before their enemies, thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them, and I will set mine eyes upon them for evil and not for good. And Yahweh, the Most High of hosts, is he that touches the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn. And it shall rise up fully like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt. But this new flood is going to be not going to be water, it's going to be fire. Okay, so let me come back to the precepts. Okay, I was in Isaiah 13. Now we know this. The ones you that knew that don't know it, we did videos on this, but if it was taken down, just say, could you give me a full breakdown to go into it? Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me go back to this. Cambridge Bible for School and Colleges. And you know me, I focus on these prophecies. You cannot, look, you got it. The prophecies are coming to pass. You're not going to get a lesson. David used to play the harp with a metal piece in his index finger, or he wore golden sandals with wings on it. And you're not going to hear stuff like that. Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, the announcement of the world judgment. World judgment. There's never been a world judgment, meaning in an oikoumene sense, introduced by a proclamation addressed to all nations. What does it mean by all nations? All nations of the earth. So it's talking about now. There's no time in history where empire took over the whole earth. It's talking about now. The people are invited to come near as if for debate. Well, that's what they're doing. They're debating. When these Edomites and vocab, when they come against us, they're constantly debating. No, that doesn't mean that. Edomites were done away with. And no, the Gentiles could be saved as well. And we tell them, look, the Gentiles in the New Testament that received salvation and blessings are talking about Israelites. So it says Isaiah 41:1. Let's look that up real quick. Keep silence before me, O islands, and let the people renew their strength. Talking about Israel. What is this? Isaiah 48:16. Come you near to me, hear you this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, from the time that it was. There am I, and now the Lord power and his spirit has sent me. You notice it said, come you near to me, hear you this, I have not spoken in secret. Because the Most High commanded us what we received in secret, teach it on the corner, so to speak. So we're giving you the secrets of the Most High. We're telling you exactly what the Most High is saying. Okay, this is Isaiah 57:3. But draw near here, you sons of sorcerers. Who's that talking about? The seed of the adulterer and the whore. So let's move on. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all oikoumene, world, and all things that come of it. Talking about right now. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, the whole world, the whole planet, and his fury upon all their armies, military. He utterly destroyed them. So Isaiah saw the destruction. He saw the mushroom cloud. He have delivered them to the slaughter. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. I'm gonna look up the word slaughter. He have delivered them to the slaughter. The word is tabach. Slaughter, slaughtering animals, slaughter of animals, slaughter, but it's going to be slaughter of people. It says slaughtered, hence a beast or meat as butchered, abstractly butchery. Now, when you finish when you go down and you read about, when you read Isaiah 34, it speaks about the bullocks and the goats and all that, because the Most High is likening those people being destroyed as goats. They're going to be goats and bullocks and rams. Let me just go to pull out some precepts here. All right, Proverbs 7, verse 22. He goeth after a straight way as an ox goeth to the slaughter, and as a fool to the correction of the stocks. So this slaughter is going to be the slaughter of the people. Jump down to the 6th verse of Isaiah 34, verse 6. The slaughter of the Lord, which is this destruction, is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of rams and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of the rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, which Bozrah, the new Bozrah, should be new Bozrah, which is America, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So really, this place is not Canaan no more. It's really not America. It's spiritual Sodom and Egypt, but it's also known as the land of Edom. They ain't talking about Mount Seir. Talking about America. This is the new land of Edom. Why? Because Esau has control over it. I'm trying to find there's a precept in Jeremiah. Somebody could put it in there. It was in a movie, The Road. If nobody ever, if none of you ever seen the movie Road, you got to go see it. It's a great movie. It basically goes into what I'm speaking about. And it says the valley. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me try it. I believe I can find it. A valley. A valley. I know it's in Jeremiah. Bear with me for a minute. I believe I found it. Jeremiah 19, verse 6. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, Yahweh, that this place shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. So the valley of slaughter is going to be right over here. Let me try something. movie The Road. Let's see what comes up. Let's see what comes up. Okay, it's not going to come up. The movie The Road. Let me do this. The movie The Road. Let's see if this scene comes up. There's a big billboard that quoted that scripture in Jeremiah. It was at this scene right here. These people were cannibals. Anyway, I can't find it. I'm gonna get ready to close. It says, for the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. What do you slaughter? You slaughter animals, but this time the Most High going to slaughter people. The slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So when you go right here. Okay, let me read this. Before they even mention Edom, it says, Matthew Henry's concise commentary. Here is a prophecy of the wars of the Lord, all which are both righteous and successful. All nations are concerned. And as they have all had the benefit of his patience, so all must expect to feel his resentment. Because, you know, Esau, pursuant to Psalms 50 and 16, he thought that the Lord was with him. It said that the description of bloodshed suggests a tremendous ideas of the divine judgment. Idumea. So now, vocab said that the Edomites are no longer here. Well, when did Isaiah the 34th chapter come to pass? It hadn't come to pass. Here denotes the nations at enmity with the church. When you go to Acts 7 verse 40, it says that the Israelites in the wilderness were the church. So the church is another word for Israel. Also the kingdom, and it says what? It says, denotes the nations at enmity with the Israelites. What nation is at enemy with the Israelites? The Edomites. Psalm 83, the first nation on the list is Edom. Also the kingdom of Antichrist. And you know what? Antichrist is not one person. So the Edomites are all AKA the Antichrist, or the Antichrist with an S. Our thoughts cannot reach the horrors of that awful season to those found opposing the church of the Messiah. Who's the church of the Messiah? The Israelites, starting with the elect. There was a time fixed in the divine councils for the deliverance of the church, which are the Israelites, starting with the elect, and the destruction of her enemies. Number one on the list, Idumea. We must patiently wait till then, and judge nothing before the time. You wait ye upon me when I rise up to the prey. And the prophets, we're not going to get physical at all. Through the Messiah, mercy is exercised to every believer, the ones of the Israelites of the elect. Vocab Malone, you're not a believer. Consistently with justice, and his name is glorious. And we're supposed to know his name. Cambridge Bible for schools and colleges, they didn't say too much because they know they read about Edom and oh my goodness, but they give you two precepts, Joel 2:20. But I will remove far from you the northern army, and will drive him. That's the U.S. Army, and they're going to be driven where? They're going to be driven to the Levant. Drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, that's Euphrates, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, that's the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill smell shall come up, because he has done great things. Now the great things is in Daniel 7. They spoken great words. It's talking about the little horn. Anyway, I'm gonna close it. So with that, and we're in a time of prophecy, man. Keep your eyes open. To 100 seconds to the to 12, according to the doomsday clock. Bear me for a minute. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Close that.